I'm proud to say that we consistently rank among the top mortgage areas, giving back financially to our community. I am proud to work for Wells Fargo. As our vision statement says, we want to satisfy all our customers' needs and help them succeed financially. It has guided us in our decision-making process to not offer products that were not consistent with our vision. It is a company that believes in giving back and helping customers succeed. This demonstrated in our corporate giving programs, our homeownership preservation events, our fair and responsible lending policies, and the day-to-day actions of our team members. As a person of Asian descent, I have felt discrimination firsthand. I've had family members and friends who have taken advantage of unscrupulous language. It is with the utmost pride and confidence that I say that none of this happens, and more importantly, tolerated in Wells Fargo.
Number 6, Diana Stouffer.
Yes. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Diana Stauffer, and I am a branch manager working with customers every day. Our team, I'm here really to represent my team, and they're going to speak for themselves, puts customers in homes. We do purchase loans and refinances. And I'm proud to have joined Jim's team in September. We cover a vast area in the city, and we're actively involved in the community. Not only do we do that out of our own time and volunteer hours, but also because being in San Francisco, our customers demand a good corporate citizen. They have many choices when they choose a lender, and we're proud to have them choose Wells Fargo. One example, just to kind of give you a recent, is that I recently joined the board of Rebuilding Together, and I hope to be active in that in the city. My team that's here with me today will be doing a build in the Bayview Hunters Point District just coming up in a couple of weeks on April 27th. I just want to give you a real life example of some of the things that our team members do on a daily basis. We're real human beings. This is who works for Wells Fargo. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 7, Greg Pennington.
So democratic that you've added the list with Wells Fargo.
Excuse me.
My name is Greg Pennington.
Excuse me, miss. We did reserve seats for many people here in the front row who I believe are with the ACE group or the eviction group, okay?
No,
so we made ACE. We try to make many accommodations.
First, sir. I mean,
Okay,
whoever
you can
came here first got on the list first.
My name is Greg Pennington. I'm a lawyer originator on the street, trying to help people get into homes. I work for Wells Fargo. I've been doing loans since about 1977. Previously, I owned a bank for about a decade that I sold in 2004. For about 4 years, I was doing housing counseling one-on-one with a lot of people in the community, trying to help people get into homes.
What community?
San Francisco. And working for SFERS. And know a couple of people that were in the room I saw earlier that I've worked with. I just want to let you know that when the doors closed and we're talking, a lot of the words you're hearing right now are the same words that are said behind closed doors. There's a lot of training that goes on. There's no mindset of trying to hurt people or get people out of homes. That is not happening. And a lot of you have gone through a lot of tough times and bad things. But the bottom line is this: that's just not happening at Wells Fargo. Those conversations are not being had. And when I was hired, I was brought on board and told I could do the same things and talk about all the things I did as a housing counselor, even to the detriment of sales, talking about credit card debt and other areas that are basically against getting revolving debt. They told me I could do the same thing. And to be blunt, when you hear these other individuals stand up, that kind of stuff doesn't necessarily make any money. It doesn't work that way. But I just want to assure you, and I've been told not to take this personally, but I had choices of where I could go. I had choices of where I could go as a lender. And I went to Wells Fargo for just the reasons I told you right now. And I'll say it again, and specifically to you. When the doors are closed, that kind of stuff isn't going on. I'd love to talk to you one-on-one sometime about some of the comments you made earlier about the lawsuit, because I've got, forgive me, big muckety-mucks here I'm not allowed to say in public.
30 seconds.
You ever want to get one-on-one and hear the story of what's going on and the reasons behind that, more than welcome, anytime.
At what location, sir? What location?
Okay. What I would suggest, Mr. Pennington, perhaps as you leave, if you want to hand out your business card.
Sure.
Okay, that's maybe a more genuine way of trying to communicate. He's obviously expressed his willing to talk to you. Folks, I just want to help you understand. We have a few other items on the calendar we need to get to today, too. So we have about at least another hour of speakers. So that's one reason we're trying to push this along. So sorry if I interrupt you. Okay, number 9, Isaac, correction, it's Caesar Aravera.
Oh, Caesar Isaac.
Well, you can go in order any order you want.
I'll go.
Okay, thanks.
Hello, Commissioners, and hello, everyone. My name is Isaac Gracia. I'm a mortgage consultant with Wells Fargo. I've been working with the company for the last 6 years, and I've seen and done many things for the community, or my community, the Hispanics. First, I started in the San Leandro, Hayward, where there are a lot of Hispanics and people that work with me. Now I work in the Mission area, which I've been, actively looking and helping every single one of my customers, guiding them the right way. That's the policy, the company. The culture that I have, the culture that has my company. We have values. When a customer comes and asks me for a wrong product, I always try to find the right one for them. It's not just about putting them in a house they cannot afford or they cannot pay. The other thing is a refinance when a customer has a fixed income and they cannot afford the payment. I always refer them to the right area to take care of them. And like workers say,
Please, folks. Little respect for the other speakers, please.
there's been occasions when I don't get any, I don't get anything monetary talking, and I still help my customers. So that's all I have to say.
We'll be looking for you.
Thank you. Mr. Isaac Gavin? Or you're Isaac?
Yeah.
Let's go back to get Caesar, Aravena.
Can we hear it from more Wells Fargo?
Hi everybody, my name is Cesar Aravena, and I'm a mortgage consultant for Wells Fargo. But I started with them in 2004 as a customer service representative. When I applied to the mission stores. Why? Because I want to be more involved with them, with the community. I'm from Chile and I speak Spanish and I love to speak my language. Yes. I will speak in Spanish a little bit. Give me the opportunity. So I became a mortgage consultant and I stay at the mission stores. I can say that I'm very happy because that is giving me the opportunity to teach, to guide, and also to give advice to my clients in their own language, and that builds trust and loyalty. So whenever they look for me, I'm there for them. And what else? Involving the community, I can tell you that MEDA also, I'm going to be speaking there for the homeownership, a seminar that's in Spanish, because I want to be there for my community. And I'm here just to speak about the great experience, not just working for Wells Fargo, but also working with my community. Thanks. Oh.
Miss Kathy Davis?
So, siempre estoy ahí con ustedes.
Oh,
Time.
thank you.
Time.
Gracias.
Good afternoon, I'm Kathy Davis. I'm the Executive Director of Baby Hunters Coin Multipurpose Senior Services. And we've been community partners with Wells Fargo Bank for the last 15 years. And I have to say my experience with Wells Fargo has been extremely positive and very supportive of the work that we do. And right now we are working on a $54 million senior center and senior housing project that was originally invested in by Wells Fargo. When nobody would give us anything, Wells Fargo gave us support on an ongoing basis, on a regular basis as a community partner. I can go into my Wells Fargo bank, I can hear about a senior that has a problem with their mortgage, and I can work with the bank to help that senior. So on a personal, individual level with Wells Fargo, they have been exceptionally good to work with, exceptional as philanthropists in the community of San Francisco, and the seniors in Bayview have benefited from their support.
Number 11, Pastor Bryant.
Good afternoon. Pastor Bryant was not able to make it, but my name is Linda Sanders, and I'm a member of Calvary Hill Community Church. We have partnered with Wells Fargo for over 3 years, and I actually, as a member of the church and a staff person, sat in on many of the financial workshops. And if I could just summarize, I believe the part that Wells Fargo played was to assist us in raising the consciousness level of our members and the community. And what happened during those sessions, over 8 workshops, is that people had a chance to ask questions, went over general banking information, but in addition to that, the Wells Fargo staff actually took time to work with the community on people who are going through foreclosure, requesting loan modifications, but I do know they sat down personally and had staff available. Were all of the issues taken care of? No. But I can say this, that we partnered with them. They took the time, and this is the first, I was there, eyewitness, it's not something that I'm fabricating. We actually had members who said they benefited and were taken through the process and were successful in some cases. So we plan to continue partnering with Wells Fargo. And just one other
30 seconds.
One other thing is that not only were adults dealt with, but we had youth who were introduced to some career development workshops, and this was like a 3-year period. So we are still positively partnering with Wells Fargo.
Number 12, Gail Gilman. Gail Gilman, in case there's any folks in the hallway. No? Okay. Number 13, Kibridge. Philip Kibridge.
Yes. Hi. Hello, Commissioners. My name is Phil Kilbridge. I'm the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity Greater San Francisco. Wanted to speak a little bit about Wells Fargo engagement with our work, because it has been transformational and has dramatically helped us improve our work in the community, helping us launch a home buyer readiness workshop series, not just in San Francisco in the Bayview and the OMI neighborhood, but also on the peninsula and up in Marin County. Additionally, it helped us launch our neighborhood vitalization program, and this isn't just a financial investment since 1999, but an incredible investment of volunteer time and labor since 1999, and I will say 6,800 hours that we have tracked of volunteer labor from Wells Fargo team members helping us to build homes, helping us to improve the communities that we work in. And most recently, we acquired a piece of land in the OMI neighborhood on which we are building 28 homes for and with families with very low and low incomes. And the first folks at the door to help us invest and purchase that land was Wells Fargo. So I'm pleased that they have partnered with Habitat for Humanity Greater San Francisco, and think that that should be recognized in a review of the social investment policy. Thank you.
Number 14, Rosario Anaya.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. My name is Rosario Maya, the Director of Commissioner. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Rosario Maya. I am the Director of Mission Lane Educational School, a non-profit workforce development organization that has been serving the Mission District and the City of San Francisco for the past 45 years. MLBS offers adult education and vocational training programs in healthcare and hospitality, always integrating basic subjects like English, math, and computer, as well as running after-school programs for at-risk youth. Unfortunately, during the past 5 years, funds for adult education were drastically reduced. And before and during this time, Wells Fargo has supported job training and adult programs at MLBS which serve primarily low-income, limited and non-English-speaking Latinos and other underserved communities. Wells Fargo has been a partner of MLBS for vocational training, and many of our graduates have been hired by Wells Fargo, and some of them became branch managers. As important, especially for community-based organizations, Wells Fargo has supported capacity building that is extremely important and valuable to organizations like MLBS. So I wanted to share with you the ways that Wells Fargo has been involved with our
30 seconds.
Thank you.
Mitch Zingzang? I'm sorry.
Mitchell Salazar.
Salazar, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Hi, my name is Mitchell Salazar. I'm the Director for Workforce Development for Mission Neighbor Centers, and I was asked to come and extend our support on behalf of our Executive Director, Sam Ruiz. Our agency has been in existence since 1959. We serve children, Head Start children, youth, and senior citizens and do workforce development work. Our banking has been with Wells Fargo for the past 3 decades, and for the last 10 years or so, nearly 10 years, Wells Fargo employees have joined our board of directors to bring their expertise to work with us in a collaborative and a fiscal manner. And in addition to that, when we have went out and sought their support for programs such as child care out in the Bayview with brick and mortar dollars, I was working on this project particularly back in 2008, 2007. Money was really hard to raise. At that time, the foundation extended support, and when we went back out to Wells Fargo to seek support to actually do services, they came back and helped us develop a family resource center and extended additional support to do workforce development. So on behalf of our organization, we did want to extend our support to the Wells Fargo Bank on behalf of our organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 16, Annie Chung.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, members of the board. I'm Annie Chung. I'm with a nonprofit organization called Shelter for the Elderly that started in 1966 in Chinatown. And we've been providing elder care services to almost 35,000 seniors in the Bay Area. I'm here, like other speakers before me, want to share our partnership and our experience with Wells Fargo. I became the executive director in 1981, and over the past 30 plus years, I have met many Wells Fargo volunteers who come over to serve on our board of directors, giving us advice and resources from the bank to help us do our work. These volunteers are people just like you and me. They have a job, but at their spare time, on weekends and weeknights, they come over and serve with their heart on nonprofit boards just like mine and just like Kathy's. And we know these people like our friends and our family, and whatever problems that exist, I truly feel that if you establish a relationship, you can go to them and discuss the problems with the Wells Fargo. We've had board members from executive level, and we have volunteers who are just branch managers who regularly come to our employment and training for older workers and teach them financial literacy workshops. A series of 6 workshops were done in our community last year, and over 300 people attended, and we're requesting the bank to come back and do more. Every year on Thanksgiving Day, we serve 3,000 seniors with Thanksgiving lunch, and Wells Fargo's team of 15, 20 employees are always there with us for the past 20 years. So I'd like to state our support and our relationship and partnership with Wells Fargo.
Number 17, Arna Safardi.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Arba Safari, and I'm with Urban Solutions. I'm here to read a statement from our Executive Director, Jenny McNulty, who could not be here today. Urban Solutions would like to address the positive impact Wells Fargo has on the community through their community development initiatives. For the last 10 years, Wells Fargo has funded urban services to low-income entrepreneurs and has consistently been one of our top funders. Urban Solutions provides consulting and training for entrepreneurs to start, and grow businesses and create jobs. Their funding has made it possible for us to help more than 200 small businesses each year in San Francisco's low-income neighborhoods with a focus on the Western Addition and the 6th Street corridor in South Market. 72% of our clients are people of color, and just last year, our clients created 75 jobs and retained 54 jobs. Wells Fargo has been a strong partner assisting us with marketing our services and making grants directly to our small business clients through their storefront renovation program. Their team members have served on our board of directors and chaired various committees. Their support has made a big difference by increasing our capacity to provide services. Wells Fargo also funds most of our peer organizations, and I appreciate their philanthropic involvement throughout the San Francisco community. Thank you.
Number 18. Emily Gassner? Oh, okay.
Hi, I'm Emily Gassner. I'm the Executive Director for Working Solutions, and I'm here to talk about the partnership we've had with Wells Fargo over the past 15 years. It's been nothing but positive. The people at Wells Fargo have truly cared about the success of our organization, and I can say that we would not exist if it were not for Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo, when we wanted to start a microloan fund, because we serve low-income entrepreneurs that want to start or grow a business, but need access to small amounts of loans as well as education, advisory, and mentoring. We had no lending capital to lend out, and Wells Fargo took a huge risk in us and made the first investment of $500,000 so that we could make loans to low-income individuals in our community. Not only through the financial support of Wells Fargo, but through the team member involvement. We've always had Wells Fargo members on our board of directors, every possible committee. They host a number of financial education workshops throughout the Bay Area and always invite us to participate in those. And their team member involvements really helped us increase our capacity as a very small organization with 7 employees, and we just couldn't do it without Wells Fargo. There's real human beings behind Wells Fargo, and they really are care and have been very passionate about their involvement in serving low-income individuals, minority-owned businesses, and women-owned businesses, which are the groups of people that we serve. Thank you.
Gladys Stewart.
Hey. Hello, everyone. My name is Gladys DeWitt. I've been a city and county worker for 25 years. I'm sure all of you on the board have been seeing me 4 times now. It's like we're just coming and nobody's listening. Sure, the guy said some of this is our fault. True enough. But at 43 years old, having $40,000 to put out on a home in the Mission District on 20th, and working at San Francisco General Hospital, walking to work. Oh, yes, I'm a retiree. My money's in Wells Fargo. It's in the retirement system. But let's see. First it was Washington Mutual, Wachovia, and then Wells swooped up everything. The interest rate kept going up every year. I have never missed a payment. My payments go up twice a year. They told me if I miss payments, they would give me a modification. But at the same token, they're trying to steal my house because of the equity. I went to work with fractured back and worked. My house is not paid for, but now there's so much equity, Wells Fargo wanted back. And they locked me into a loan that I can't get out of. And if you're kicking folks out of their homes, are you going to give some of the people a place to live where you got these projects that you're building with our money? This is our money.
Modified, Gladys.
You know? Never miss a payment. You're never. $600,000 worth of
Okay,
And
Ms.
I'm
DeWitt.
in the mission.
Ms. DeWitt,
Nobody
time.
wants to talk
Ms.
to
DeWitt,
me.
time, please.
There.
Thank you.
All you good souls that want to meet with Gladys, meet with us.
Miss Arguello seems to be the last name. Eric or Erica? Oh, thank you.
I'm speaking on behalf of Eric. My name is Mike Smith. I'm Executive Director at AIDS Emergency Fund and Breast Cancer Emergency Fund. We work with about 2,500 men and women in San Francisco who are disabled by their AIDS diagnosis or going through cancer treatments for breast cancer. We provide emergency financial assistance, which for most people in a crisis means money for housing. 85% of the money we put out goes for housing. Wells Fargo has been our single largest financial backer for 30 years. They are the single largest donor to our agency. We, over the years, probably have worked with 25 different senior executives at Wells Fargo, all of whom, on a very personal level, many of them served on our board, on a very personal level, they care about housing. They care about keeping people in their homes. The money that we've received from Wells Fargo over those years has gone to stabilize the living situation for tens of thousands of San Franciscans disabled by AIDS who are living on Social Security and trying to make ends meet in this town. I believe strongly in the work that Wells Fargo does in this community. They are an extraordinary community advocate and community partner, and we love them.
Okay, now, thank you. Number 21 is Kathy Davis, but you already spoke. 22 is Phil Kilbridge. You've already spoke.
People can speak twice.
Not on the same. Not on the same item.
No, he said they could speak twice.
On the same item?
They spoke in general comment.
No, they've spoken on this item.
After everybody speaks once.
They have spoken already on this item. The rules is limited to once per item. Those rules were read at the beginning. Excuse me, Miss?
I just was requesting, I signed up on number 1 and 2 too, and my page was put underneath, so I was just wondering, I want to make sure it hadn't gotten lost.
What is your name? I'll try to find it while the next person is speaking.
Well, actually, Harry Baker was the first person on it. He was number 1 on the list. So the Wells Fargo people put it way underneath, and then we got it again. So we're number 1 too.
I see your name.
I'm on that list too.
Okay.
It's Harry Baker.
It has not gone away. It's on the next page. That's the way this is working out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to make sure.
Coincidence. So hopefully all the Wells Fargo people will be staying to listen to all our comments as well, of course.
Okay, excuse me, Mr. Starburst. Stardust, excuse me. Number 23 is Monica Kenny.
Whoa.
First and foremost, I'd like to say to Mr. Meiberger that good governance does include divestment. SFERS should be acting in the public interest. They should be doing the right thing and adhering to their own policies. You are not supposed to be investing city workers' money in institutions that carry out racist practices, as Wells was specifically fined $175 million for. This is not just about investment health. Fiscal health begins with investments in healthy institutions, and it has been shown via the Securities and Exchange Commission and as well as the Department of Justice that these banking institutions are not contributing to the health of our society and our nation at this time. Any person who receives a paycheck or who is on the dole from Wells Fargo is of course going to sing their praises. If I received a paycheck from Wells Fargo, or if they were supporting my community desires, then I would be singing their praises as well. However, when I stepped away from my job as a city worker at a wastewater treatment plant as a maintenance mechanic who was being rained upon by feces and urine every day working for my city, I went to Wells Fargo and I said, look, I've emptied my retirement, I've put every penny into this house, and I need help with a modification. When they finally said that they had a modification or a forbearance agreement in place for me, they turned around the following day and sold my home at auction.
Damn right.
I had a meeting with Mr. Alfredo Pedroza, who sits here in my supervisor's office, at which time he pleaded that there were no cases like this that Wells Fargo could refer back to, that this was not occurring. I am a real person too. And my entire life, my only desire was to buy my home and live out my life in San Francisco. I got hit by a car when I was 9 years old. I took the $25,000 that I had from that, and I put a down payment on my house.
Yeah.
We're calling on every SF public office to pressure these banks to write down hundreds of millions in principal that was illegally inflated by the banks in the first place. Mr. Driscoll, you are not a fool. You have a great pension. You decided to work for your city and to put your life on the line. Now, we should not take your money and invest it with banks who have been shown to be committing nefarious, predatory, and racist acts against the community. Here at SFERS, we're calling on the passing of these resolutions as an honest step towards the board adhering to their own policies. Thank you again, Mr. Meiberger. In my case, it's been shown that Wells illegally foreclosed on my home. They are still guilty of dual tracking. They are still guilty of providing multiple single points of contact. And they are documenting their own violations to the Homeowners' Bill of Rights, which was passed down through Kamala Harris in order to attend to this situation. Now, again, any person that is getting a paycheck is going to sing the praises of whoever is writing that check for them. We are again asking that you just take one step in saying that if you are a CEO, you should not be sitting on the board of a group that is determining the lifeblood of folks who work for the cities. You know, I'm having feces rain down upon me because I believe in what I do and I believe in water quality and I want good water quality for my city. But you know what? Don't put my money in with Wells Fargo when they specifically lied to me and said, we didn't receive your hundreds of pages of information that I have copies of, that I have the cards of the folks from the branches that I faxed all this information from. Without the involvement of Nancy Pelosi's office, Wells Fargo would not have adhered to the forbearance agreement that they set forth with me in writing. Without the involvement of having Mr. Pedroza come in and lie and say, oh, things like this never happened, without the involvement of my supervisor, I wouldn't be standing here today. And I'm going to continue to fight for my home. I think this is a multi-headed monster, and we need to attack it from all angles.
Number 24, Marguerite Young.
Good afternoon. My name is Marguerite Young. I am with the Service Employees International Union's Capital Stewardship Program. My job is to participate in the deliberations that pension boards all over the country make around responsible investment of our members, 800,000 members in public pension funds. Of their investments, I spend a lot of time paying attention to corporate governance and the interpretation of what fiduciary duty is. I have witnessed our members' retirement accounts plummet after 2008, and with due respect to Mr. Stansbury, while they may be back to where they were in 2008, they're not where they should have been in 2013. We have not made actuarial progress in the last 5 years. We have barely made any progress in the last decade. That is part and parcel due to the financialization of our economy and the financial sector, with the banks at the head of the pack. So while we are acting today on the specific predatory practices that are called out in the board's social investment policy, what I actually ask you to do today is act in your fiduciary duty. Yes, the legislature has a role. Yes, the courts have a role. But yes, you have a role as fiduciaries to manage and take account of the risks that your portfolio has, and to understand and to engage where necessary
30 seconds
to deal with those risks. CalPERS, CalSTRS, New York City, New York Common, North Carolina, and the list goes on, have voted in favor of separation of chair and CEO, have voted against pay packages that are outrageous, have voted in favor of mortgage servicing resolutions that call for disclosure and auditing. Get into the 21st century, San Francisco. Woo! Get out of a windowless room. Allow people who asked to be here to be able to participate when you were given notice. And you agreed to give us room, and you did not. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 25, Jim Lazarus.
Thank you, Commissioners. Jim Lazarus, San Francisco Chamber of Commerce, 1,500 local businesses from throughout the city. I'm pleased to be here today and to urge you to support Commissioner Makras' motion and to oppose the original motion that was presented. I think what you've seen here is a outpouring of really outrage by the business community over unfair attacks on local companies. These are banks that employ thousands of San Franciscans, our neighbors, our friends, and the whereas clauses were so out of touch with the reality of what happened. The banks that you might be targeting don't exist anymore because of their subprime mortgage policies. Where's Wachovia? Where's Washington Mutual? Where's Countrywide? They're not here because those were the banks that caused, in large part, the financial meltdown that occurred in 2007 and 2008. The federal government asked Wells and Chase and Bank of America to help pick up the pieces. We should be proud that we've got an economic house coming back into order because of the banks that remained after the crash. So we urge you not to take this policy, not to target local industries. If you have policies on proxies and how you're going to vote those proxies generic 30 seconds on all companies of which this pension plan is invested in, so be it. But don't target unfairly local businesses, local employees. Thank you.
Number 26, Guillermo Lainez.
Good afternoon. My name is Guillermo Lainez. I'm an organizer with Tenants Together. We represent 15 million tenants in the state of California, many of whom used to be homeowners. Many of whom used to own the Wells Fargo homes. They're no longer in their house because the bank has refused to allow people who, for whatever reason, can no longer hold on to their home to stay in that home. You guys do not have the same policies as Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac that allows for a period of time for tenancy after the loss of foreclosure. This affects the fabric of our community. It really destroys what we value here. When you talk about the mission, sir, you talk about the people that live there. The people that lost their home, let them stay. You lose nothing. You make money as a landlord. Now, I'm supposed to read a letter from my ED. I'm supposed to tell you guys that CalPERS and CalSTRS already divested from a scheme that was very similar in East Palo Alto, where folks were being evicted. I'm also supposed to tell you guys that you guys are opening yourself up for potential liability, as we know that some of these practices are fraud, and you guys as investors will potentially pay some of those costs. So the employees of the city should not have to pay for that. But I lost a home to foreclosure from Wells Fargo. So I'm passionate, I'm angry, and I get absolutely incensed when I hear people who are well-meaning tell you that because they got a few pennies, now this bank is supposed to be great. Well, I have this letter, I'll give it to you. I'll let you guys read from the executive director at Tenants Together. He's a very calm person. I clearly am not, because what's happening here is outrageous, and you guys should be mad.
Outrageous. Pictures, part of a big banking cartel that crashed the economy.
Ed Donaldson.
My name is Ed Donaldson. I've just been sitting here listening to the conversation, and it's very interesting. We seem to find ourselves polarized, and we're stuck off in these corners, and we're not really looking at what we can do in terms of helping to stabilize families and to bring more solutions to the table. I am a former HUD-approved counselor. I work with many of the people that are here. I work with countless seniors who could not be here today. And I witnessed a lot of what was wrong with this whole, crisis and whatnot. And, for me, being a finance person, I also worked as a trader on the Florida Pacific Stock Exchange. I was there in 1986 when the market crashed. I was present during the S&L crisis when that whole thing played out. And I witnessed firsthand what the strategies were that were used to stabilize communities. It wasn't an either-or conversation. It was people sitting down, putting their heads together, and working through this stuff to find a solution that kept people in their homes. And I'm saddened because I'm listening to this either-or kind of conversation, and I'm frightened and afraid that we're going to continue to be in this situation, polarized, until we can figure out how, cooler heads can prevail and sit down and find answers.
That's right.
The final thing I want to say is that, I study this stuff all day, every day. I work with a community stabilization organization that is actually working on a national level, doing strategies to keep people in their homes. There are currently 5.2 million homes that are in some stage of default. If the current rate of foreclosure success continues, which is about 25%, approximately 3.9 million of those homes are going to end up in foreclosure. And I asked the question, what's going to happen to those families? So let's put a human face on this. Let's let cooler heads prevail, and let's sit down and let's figure this stuff out.
That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Number 28, Lynn
Eggers.
Eggers, thank you.
Lynn Eggers. I'm a retiree from the city. Hi, I'm a retiree from the city. I hear the tale of two cities here today. Wells Fargo is brilliant with foundations and things, and maybe that's true, but I have lots of neighbors that have been foreclosed upon, and I've seen the runaround they've gotten from bank officials, lost forms, over and over. They've gone to huge conferences to help them keep their homes. Something is not right here. There are two big pictures that really are totally opposite. I took my money out of Chase. I don't know where Bank of America and Chase are. They didn't get an invitation to come. I don't quite get that. I took my money out of Chase because I got sick of seeing people lose their houses, and I don't want my retirement money to stay in banks that are like this. Thank you.
Number 29, Susan McDonough.
My name is Susan McDonough. I am an active member of ACE and Occupy Noe. We've been here 4 times, as you know, taking up a lot of time. So I have 2 points. One is I'm not going to disparage the money that Wells Fargo gives away to many good organizations. That's not the issue. They are the wealthiest bank in San Francisco and one of the wealthiest in the country. I feel it's their obligation to give away money to community organizations. So that's not the issue. For me, there's 2 issues. One is you have policies in place. You should put those into practice. It's as clear as that. There is documented evidence of predatory and illegal and racist lending. And second of all, we've been here 4 times now, and I am very disappointed. I was told in a meeting with the executive director and with Commissioner Makras that we would get a bigger room. And we warned you, and you asked me for numbers, and I called you and gave you that information. This is not transparent. We have people outside, can't get in this meeting. Okay, there's 3 seats that Wells Fargo people have left for you if you want to come in. But you told us, you assured us that you were going to find another room. You said, oh, we can get a room at City Hall, no problem. It's always, it's easy to do. And here we are in this stifling little room. I feel it is a complete disregard for public input, for San Franciscans, for retirees to be able to participate in their own retirement system. Thank you.
If there are some empty seats out there, we could mention to the people in the hallway, this is a time to come in and sit down without interrupting the speaker.
Why didn't you get a bigger room?
We're not moving right now, okay? Thanks for the suggestion. We're trying to carry on with the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Welcher. Please, Mr. Welcher, let the people sit down so we can carry on.
So they have an opportunity to speak?
Excuse me?
Can they sign up so they have an opportunity to speak?
Some may already have the option. Don't worry, we'll at the end.
outside.
I'm going to give those people the option. Number 30, Molly Martin.
Hi, my name is Molly Martin. I'm a retired San Francisco city and county worker. So this is my retirement fund. When people told me, or when I learned that the board of this fund is composed partly of bank executives who are making decisions about investments in their own banks. I couldn't believe it. I just didn't believe that. How could that not be illegal? Isn't there a law against that? Well, it's a conflict of interest for sure. And I think that Mayor Lee must understand that. Don't we all understand that that's a conflict of interest?
We do.
Yeah, okay.
Anyhow, so I'm outraged because of that. And I feel like the people who are part of the retirement system ought to be involved in these meetings, and that's why I'm here. Also because I've been personally interacting with people who are losing their homes. My neighbors have been evicted and their homes have been auctioned off, sometimes without their knowledge, while they thought they were working on a loan modification, and Wells Fargo has been at fault. I don't know how you can explain that, but try to imagine what it's like to lose your home and to not be able to get your home back. It seems like Wells Fargo, and I know they've been throwing money around San Francisco for many, many years. I can see that. And it buys many things, and it seems to me that it's bought our retirement system.
That's I
object.
Yeah.
Next one is Steve. He's with UPW.
Steve Zeltzer, that's me.
Oh, is this Mr. Belcher? Okay.
Well, I think one of the issues here, Mike, one of the issues here that we're talking about really is capitalism. That's what this system is. And the banks are in business to make a profit. That's what everybody says here. And the fact of the matter is capitalism is not working for people in this country. That's a fact. Now, my view is that I don't want to make the banks better. I don't want to make the banks better. I don't think the banks are going to be better because banks are about making profit.
That's it.
And the banks are about also pushing deregulation. When you talk about what caused this crisis, what's it all about? Well, weren't these same banks, the Bank of America and Wells Fargo and Citibank, pushing for deregulation in our country to get rid of Glass-Steagall? Who was doing that? Who was pushing that? It was the banks. And I found it astounding as a city retiree that we've got the bankers on our retirement board.
Ain't that right?
Who are voting on investments in businesses that they have stock in. I mean, how can you be there, sitting here, and say that you don't have any kind of interest when you have own bank stock? You think that's equitable? You think that's equitable? Of course your decision is going to have some effect. Because you're going to be saying to the banks, you need to do something to change the way you operate. I mean, if CalPERS has done that, why is it this board can't do that? Is CalPERS such a radical organization? Revolutionary organization? Hell no.
Hardly.
Hell no. I mean, to separate the CEO from the chairman of the board, is this such a radical decision? But it seems you have a big problem with that. Well, frankly, I think the city employees need to clear out and clean out our trustees.
30 seconds.
We need to get some trustees who reflect the people. And we need to get a public bank in San Francisco and California where we can put the money and the interest, the direction of the bank is not for the profit of billionaires, but for the people of the city and the people of the state to make us healthy. Because we are not a healthy society. We have mass unemployment. We have people losing their home. We have people dying in the street who can't get health care. And this bank, the Bank of America and Wells Fargo, are pushing for charters. You say you're giving money. How about giving money to City College?
Thank you, Mr. Welcher.
That's right.
Bernetha Adolph.
Hallelujah. My name is Bernetta Adolph, and I would like to remain seated. I would like to remain seated. I am a 66-year-old senior, been through a lot, cancer, blindness, and just still fighting to stay in my home. Now, in the beginning, I think a lot of breakdowns started in the beginning. Wells Fargo wouldn't even talk to me. I tried for months and months. So they had no idea what my problem was because I was sent from place to place to place. And, you know, after they wouldn't talk to me, I just started fighting to stay in my home. But I don't want to stay there. What I want to say is, it's great. It's really great that you're helping the community. We love it. But that's not the problem. And, you know, these are things that we already know what you said today. In fact, I woke up one morning to a big ad with Brenda Wright telling about all the nonprofits that we're helping. That's not going to help us. I mean, I appreciate that. But I think, what if you had taken the money that was paid on that ad and put it to help a 90-year-old woman who lost her husband? You know? I mean, this is real out here. And you people, you're really not, you're not taking the time to listen. I wish all of the people in trouble had spoke first because you get tired. And a lot of times, Wells Fargo people are, oh, okay. And the other thing is, okay, you're beautiful. You didn't have these problems. These other banks did. But it was World Savings, Wachovia, and you. But you have to take the responsibility because you have those. There are loans hidden in trust. But you're not taking it. I mean, it's illegal foreclosure. You can't even foreclose on them. But what? Everybody is together, so you're able to do it. And I'm really outraged.
Thank you, Ms. Adolph. Number 33, Elliot Katz.
By the way, she's getting put out her house next week.
Do you want to take some of my time? I was going to say, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen here, I appreciate the people for the community speaking for their own, for the good, the little bit of good that Wells Fargo did. And I've been in your place. I'm the founder of the organization that currently puts on the Ethnic Dance Festival that was created to give balance to the minority communities some 35 years ago when the hotel tax fund was sending almost all their money to the opera, ballet, and symphony and literally giving nothing to the minority groups. I'm seeing a kind of rerun of this situation here. And you're hearing, you're not hearing. This thing was literally stacked. You heard complaints that there's not enough seating. The people from Wells Fargo came in early and took up your energy, as was pointed out. My feeling is that this be put on. As I sat there, it was obvious from the looks on your faces that the original recommendation was going nowhere. They're still looking at it. It's pretty so, but I don't think you've really seen and heard from the people who are really being touched with this situation. You've heard from some of them. There's a lot more, and I really do think some the suggestions. 30 seconds. The suggestions that have been forth are well worth doing. You haven't heard from the president or CEO of Wells Fargo, who gets $18 million a year. Have him come in and ask for you guys to be patient and kind. You know, I was part of the civil disobedience actions against apartheid on the UC Berkeley campus. And what this is, it's almost like a repeat of the same kind of thing. This is a horror story, and you won't realize the depth of it until you give their people here an opportunity to really give their personal stories. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Katz. Number 34, Mr. Buck Baggett.
I said fertilizer neighborhood center. We've gotten loads of Wells Fargo dollars, long-term housing tax credit grants. I got asked by nonprofits to run a gang of drug dealers out of Buchanan Park in the Western District. Wells Fargo was the only group that funded it. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about here today. Like Ed said, it's not an either or. We think you should put more money into San Francisco, not less. We've been hearing about the $50 million you're going to give to Hope SF for the last 3 years. Every time any of us approaches Mayor Lee, it's, oh, they're going to put $50 million to Hope SF. Put it in already, okay? Totally two different issues. We have people that are getting burned. And Miguel, we'd be glad to sit down and talk with you about it. And
we've already talked to you.
Fine, there you go. That's how open you were to talk about it.
Excuse me, let Mr. Baggett finish his comments.
No, I don't mind. We were yelling at them. They can yell at us at school. They can yell at us. But look, two different issues. And we're not going to stop. And Victor, I don't know what you're smiling at. You're voting with the other side. But in any case, we're not going to go away. I don't know how much we're going to waste our time with you people anymore. But I do think it's interesting, Mark, that 2/3 of the mayor's appointees
30 seconds.
can't vote on matters affecting financial institutions. Talk about the fox guard and the chicken coop.
Yeah.
20% of your investments, I believe, are in banks. And 2/3 of the mayor's appointees, if they do what they should, will recuse themselves every time. Wells owns this board. Even the two of you that run. Thanks. Yay.
Ian Haddow.
My name is Ian Haddow, and I'm glad to report I'm a Chase mortgage holder. I spoke to you 3 times previously, and you granted me your attention, and I'm grateful for that, because attention is an increasingly rare commodity. Our attentions are all divided. I am culpable of that. So I'm not speaking as holier than thou, but I am respectfully requesting of you that you be attentive to your policy regarding socially responsible investment. And I wish to comment about a statement you said, Mr. Meiberger. You spoke about lack of remorse. I recently contended with somebody who I didn't know was a sociopath, but I suspected so, and I didn't know exactly what sociopathy was, so I researched. And I learned that one of the traits of sociopathy is lack of guilt, shame, and remorse, which are the brake pedals of personality. And because the sociopath lacks guilt, shame, and remorse, he or she or the culture, the institution, the society is especially resistant to change. The individual, the society, does not recognize that he's doing wrong because he doesn't feel it, and he doesn't recognize he's a sociopath. But that doesn't mean that the people or the group are not necessarily doing wrong or acting to the disadvantage of society. Thank you.
Number 36, Ms. Sonai, you've already spoken. That takes us to Peter Fairfield. Oh, we had to leave. Okay. 38 and 39 are crossed out. Number 40, Claire Zvansky.
Hey, Claire.
Excuse my back. Thank you very much. I'm here really to speak to you today as colleagues, 3 of you who ran for election, and actually I've known Victor for a long time, and there are a number of other people that I've known from the city, but I am representing the West Bay retirees, SEIU 10-1, but I am also an elected commissioner on the Health Service Board, and I have been doing that since 1987. And the reason I came today to speak to my colleagues is that this is primarily an issue about membership. This isn't just a socially responsible issue. You did that with South Africa, Sudan, tobacco, firearms. This is about members, our members, the people I represent, the people you represent, that are being specifically harmed. If you want to look at regulation, the laws that are now on the books are prospective. They don't help anyone who has been through this process or who is going through the process. They only will start to protect those who will begin part of a new process. Variable interest rates, before I worked for the city 40 years ago, I did real estate. We had savings and loans. They started variable interest rates. Curious to me that most of the people who were given variable interest rates were people of color, because regardless of what we all know, that hardworking people of color would have good credit, they were given variable interest rates because their credit was deemed not good enough. We've had wage freezes, cuts. No one has really worried about the impact of those wage freezes and cuts on our members and what the impact has to do with how they live and their homes. We have people who are serving in the military who have lost their homes. They're all city employees. They are your members. They are my members. This is not so much social investing. This is membership. Please represent our members. Think again before you vote.
Thank you.
Number 41, Tony Robles.
Hi, I represent Senior and Disability Action. We're an organization that advocates for seniors and people with disabilities. We advocate for better and more health services so that elders and people with disabilities can age in place. In December, we divested our money completely from Wells Fargo Bank in response to the foreclosure crisis. And I'm here in solidarity with people that are going through it. Sister in front, sister here, young lady on the right, who are making the voices heard today. Our organization, Senior and Disability Action, we're very much influenced by the foreclosures and evictions of some of our members, as well as a document that was published in July of last year by AARP in their Public Policy Institute. The report was called Nightmare on Main Street, Older Americans and the Mortgage Market Crisis. The study concluded that no age group, race, or ethnicity was spared from the effects of the declining home values and financial difficulties of the Great Recession. Despite the perception that older Americans are more housing secure than young people, millions of older Americans are carrying more mortgage debt than ever before. We urge you to vote in your proxies in ways that support reform. Urge the banks, the major banks, in particular to end foreclosures, provide permanent loan modifications to borrowers, implement and disclose practices and policies which will prevent the recurrence of predatory and discriminatory lending, and safeguard SFERS from risks associated.
Thank you, Mr. Robles.
Thank you.
Mr. Harry Baker.
Thank you. That was a long wait. Thank you for all of you being here. These are important issues in front of us. My name is Harry Baker. I retired about 12 days ago. Before that, I was a member of the Executive Board of SEIU 1021 and a delegate to the Labor Council. I come bearing letters. I have a letter from the Labor Council and also a letter from SEIU 1021, and I'll give those to you, Mr. Driscoll. Or actually, someone up here has offered to take them. And they are addressed to Wendy Paskin-Jordan, and there are copies sufficient for the rest of the members of the board. SEIU is currently the largest union representing SFERS active members, and of SFERS retired members, the largest number of those come from SEIU local unions. The point that I want to focus on is what happened to Bernadette Adolph and Gladys DeWitt, two African American women who were given subprime loans by Wells Fargo. And now
30 seconds.
are fighting to stay in their homes. Let's remember what happened with Wells Fargo on July 12, 2012. The Department of Labor sued Wells Fargo for $175 million. It paid it uncontested. It was charged with having steered 34,000 qualified African American and Hispanic mortgage applicants into subprime loans, just like these two women got.
Todd.
Thank you.
Modify them loans. They're still taking the money.
Thank you, Mr. Baker.
Don't let them lose their home.
You said you want to work with the community, work with these women.
Work with them.
Work with them.
Work with every lender.
They don't want to work with us.
Okay. Mr. Stansbury asked to be excused for a moment. He will return. Number 2, Kay Walker.
Joe, we lost
We don't have a quorum with Commissioner Stansbury out, so.
I thought we were allowed to take testimony. We cannot vote without a quorum.
Right.
Well,
but you
this is public comment.
This is public comment. It can't be part of the record without.
Without a
quorum.
Do I wait? I'm Kay Walker.
Yeah. Yes. It'll be a minute.
And I am a member of RECCSF, the retirees of the City of San Francisco Association, protect our benefits, and SEIU 10-to-1 retirement chapter of SEIU. I do not think banks are too big to fail, but it seems like these folks who are so much in service of the community are too big to change. And I think that's what the issue is.
Yes.
You all came in very defensive. And this is really about a change of rules, which actually would make you better citizens and better members of the community.
Business.
I see nothing threatening in these rules. I don't see anybody getting fired. Your money is not being reduced. You can still contribute and get tax write-offs to all these nonprofits, which, by the way, their staff makes very little money.
Right.
These are the people that are the lower paid people. The city employee, I'm one of the city employees, I'm a retiree, and I have to say I'm here as a member. And I really, again, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I want to see the policy, the social investment policies upheld. It's not just about financial health. And this, I am very proud of our retirement system. In spite of all the things that are happening in the market, in the country, we've managed to keep up there, like second in the nation, or at some point, when everything else was crashing. But I've always felt that part of that was the honesty of the people that are trustees, but there's room for huge improvement in investments and socially responsible investments. And Wells Fargo, I wish you'd just take a look at the motion. I support Herb's motion as a member.
Thank you, Ms. Walker.
Thank you.
Linda Ray.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Better late than never. I'm a member of the retiree system. My name is Linda Ray, and I'm calling upon the board to support the level 1 and 2 of your own responsible social investing protocol. And I'm a little confused on someone who has stock in a bank still sitting here. I just thought the person should recuse themselves. I am also a nurse, and I have seen the harm done by these policies. I've seen the stress and illness that have come with people. If you don't see that, you can kind of just go like this, and it's not happening, it's not happening. But I think it's also known as death by foreclosure.
Yes, that's it.
I think this board really could end this by voting for your own policies for the level 1 and 2, and I urge you to do so. And I'm really sorry the way this set up here today when I came in, and I thought, I guess people really don't want to hear from the people most affected, and I'm a member of this retirement system, and I hold you all, I'm watching.
Mr. Starr? I can't read the last part. I don't want to say Stardust. It is Stardust? Okay. Stardust is a famous song. That's why I wanted to make sure I was saying it correctly. Is he gone? Oh. Miss Linda Sanders. Oh, she was from Calvary Hill. She already spoke in lieu of the minister, of the pastor. Bob Marson. Kathy Lipscomb.
Good evening. Thank you for getting us on the calendar. That was a big victory for us and for the community. My name is Kathy Lipscomb, and I work in the senior movement. I work with ACE, and I'm a delegate to the Labor Council. I must say, first of all, that the nonprofit people who are here today who receive money from Wells Fargo, good for them. But what they don't know is that Wells Fargo has refused to seriously, Mr. Bustos, seriously talk with us for months and months and months. We have 30 people who are in the foreclosure pipeline with Wells Fargo. And we don't just want to talk. We really, at this point, need fair, affordable loan modifications. So please don't jerk us around. I'm really impressed with what you said and what you're trying to do in the community. And I just ask you to talk to us with an open heart and seriously. These are 30 human beings who've suffered a lot, not knowing where they're going to be living in a year. It's a horrible thing. So I have 2 letters to submit from the Unitarian Universalist here in San Francisco. You know, their legacy is with Starr King, who was a fighter to preserve, to keep California in the Union in the pre-Civil War days. So they feel very strongly about social justice. They open their church every night to homeless people. They must have 60 to 100 people sleeping on cots every night. They feel very strongly about the 2 proposals that were put before you today. And also the senior movement, the Gray Panthers. The Gray Panthers know that people get evicted, older people. Why? Or get foreclosed on. Why? Because they try to help their children. They take out a loan. They are very vulnerable. They get predatory loans, too many of them. They get ill. They take out a loan. So, and they try to fix their homes. So please, thank you, Mr. Meiberger. Your words meant a lot to us. And we hope the others of you will take his words to heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lipscomb.
Very good.
Ross Rhodes. Next is Susan McDonough, but you've already spoken on this item. Now, the 3 people who were in the hallway, had you had a chance to sign up? Have you had a chance to sign up, sir? You've been sitting here.
I'd like to speak.
You would like to speak? Okay. Last 2 speakers. Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. You came in as late as well. Okay. That's it. 3 more speakers, and the item will close.
Yes, I'm David Williams. I'm the president of the West Bay Retirees chapter of SEIU 1021, a member of POB, and a trustee of the Labor Council and other organizations. There's a labor adage. It goes back to the ILWU. It may actually go back to the Wobblies, the IWW, that an injury to one is an injury to all. So I'm very upset that Wells Fargo, and I commend all that you had to say about all the wonderful things you're doing, but you're completely denying the injuries to one and all that have gone on through some of the foreclosures that have been happening. And I think you need to own up to that and take responsibility for it. I also think that the board needs to do the same thing. I think this board has a social responsibility as well as the fiduciary responsibility to not duck it, not say, go to your legislators. You have the power Other boards have already taken those actions on level 1 and 2. You could do it too. This is a travesty to sit and take a good measure and not get a second on it, then have to take the countermeasure and get it seconded just so we can speak. The whole thing is it's a farce. Thank you.
Yeah.
Excuse me, the lady there in the green blouse.
Hi, my name is Grace Martinez. I am on staff with the Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment. We have, been here. Many of our members have been here for the last 4 months, and we've taken a lot of active steps to, number one, really pressure banks to do the right thing, case by case, and even a larger scale. And just to address some of the issues about whether this board has the ability to really do something about it, and even questioning legislation. It took 3 years to pass the Homeowner Bill of Rights, and the banks put $50,000 to $70,000 a day to defeat it. And that doesn't legislate justice; it legislates process. Just very simple process that you only talk to one person at a time. That they give you either a foreclosure track or they give you a modification track, not at the same time. It also gives you the ability to finally sue for damages if the bank makes a mistake. Those are 3 very simple things that people should have had in 2008, but it took 7 years for anything to be done. So I think this board has an opportunity to make a statement and support their own retirees and put all the banks to task, even the 3 that are in front of you.
Thank you.
And I think just a couple of things that were brought up by Wells Fargo. We met with 3 of their executives last August. For the most part, it was really good. However, the talks broke down. And the way that was set up, and I know that someone just mentioned, it's like I want to talk to individual homeowners. We tried that. Actually, we met in a room where we had to show our ID, and people were selected from our group to be in that room. We couldn't bring
30
homeowners.
seconds.
So I think that just to bring this to light, it isn't just about Wells Fargo, it's the entire industry. Yes. And I think 11,616 people in the foreclosure pipeline with Wells Fargo also is a reason why we should have this discussion. We want to meet with them, we want a serious conversation, and that's all we've wanted.
Hello, my name is Chris Wright. I'm the Executive Director of the Committee on Jobs, an association that advocates for economic growth and job creation in San Francisco. I'm here today to say that the resolution that's before you, the resolutions, are largely misplaced. The well-known mortgage companies that engage in subprime and aggressive lending practices that fed this mortgage bubble that everyone here is concerned about, that we all are concerned about, Countrywide, Golden West, AmeriQuest, Washington Mutual, they don't exist. Banks like Wells, Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, the ones that have been isolated in these resolutions, at the request of regulators, acquire these bad actors and have been working since to sort out the mess and to assist the distressed borrowers. The resolution appears to target Wells, Bank of America, and JP Morgan Chase not for their own historical lending activities, but instead for the lending activities of entities that they took over before they were taken over. Excuse me. Mortgage servicers, including those targeted in this resolution by name, have worked hard to support distressed borrowers and prevent foreclosures whenever possible. In combination with government programs, community partners, and unprecedented outreach efforts, servicers have completed millions of modifications. Historically, financial institutions have been amongst the strongest corporate citizens here. These banks targeted by this resolution are leading employers in the community. Employers of a broad base of employees with a broad education backgrounds. They lend billions of dollars annually into this community, routinely rank amongst the most generous corporate philanthropic partners here in the city. I ask that you reject these resolutions.
Ms. Thomas, would you?
Well, thank you very much. I'm not on the list, but I do just want to make a couple of comments very briefly. My name is Jean Thomas. I'm a retired city employee. I was struck by the comment that by one of the commissioners that perhaps this isn't a proper milieu to resolve a political problem.
And yet, it's the political problem that simply hasn't worked. It is not working. This is reported all the time in the public press, the responsible public press, I might say, even conservative public press, such as the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. So it's precisely because of that we're in a frustrated situation, and we must take action on this particular program. We must take action not only because it's the right thing to do, because our members have suffered and are suffering, and they are asking us to live up to you, rather. I come so often. Your responsibility to do what is in the best interests of the beneficiaries of this system. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Many things interpreted. We can call for the vote, or I don't know if board members need to say anything additional, since there's been so much that's been said.
Yeah, I would.
Just let me think about this for a second. I don't want to break our own rules for running things.
No, I just wanted to make sure that public comment was...
Yeah, I think public comment is finished. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Meiberger.
I do want to offer an amendment to the motion, but first I just wanted to read Mr. Baker's letters, and I wish you would have sent this to me earlier. This is a letter signed by Tim Paulson. This echoes the comments made by Claire Zavansky, Gene Thomas, and many other of the employees, Kay Walker among them. Thank you for your comments. This is Tim Paulson, the Executive Director for the San Francisco Labor Council. These are all the unions that got us here at this table, to a large extent. I'm writing on behalf of the 100,000 members of the San Francisco Labor Council today to express our support for the two motions that we understand will be considered at the April 10th meeting. And you know what that is. Another letter I want to read that Harry Baker provided. This is SCIU, signed by Roxanne Sanchez, the president of Local 1021. I'm writing today to express SCIU 1020 support for the two motions that we understand will be considered today. Very, very strong labor support behind this. We talked about a couple issues. There's some substantive issues about, this is all Wells Fargo. First off, Wells Fargo bought WAMU, they bought Wachovia and these other banks. They bought them. They did.
Yep.
They have to assume responsibility for that.
Yes, they do.
And that's why I'm saying that it's the heads of the company, the heads, the CEOs that are responsible for this. They made the decision. The other very important point was a single point of contact. And that is a big issue because I'm hearing one side, hearing the other side, but there's no single point of contact. We're talking about this being resolved through legislation. Has it?
No.
No. Well, also I want to read this letter that Gene Thomas, this article in the Wall Street Journal, flaws cited in foreclosure review. A federal watchdog is faulting U.S. bank regulators for a flawed review of foreclosure documents, saying the agencies did not establish consistent procedures or adequately monitor the consulting firms performing the work. And then it goes on further. The review has resulted in wide discrimination in how banks performed, with J.P. Morgan Chase reporting errors just 0.6%, while Wells Fargo 11%. There's room for improvement here, and what I would like to do is talk about unfairly targeting local companies. I don't think that is. Let me address those issues, and let me amend my motion to amend that motion on the floor that I seconded.
It wasn't.
Incidentally, to provide to all banks, not just Wells Fargo, J.P. Morgan, and Bank of America, but all of the banks that are mentioned in staff's memo. That is specifically Bank of America, Citibank, Everbank, HBSC. Would be trouble with some LIBOR problems also. J.P. Morgan Chase, MetLife, PNC, SunTrust, U.S. Bank, and Wells Fargo. So it should provide to all of those banks, which was staff's recommendation, because those were involved in the settlement of the attorneys general.
Correct.
Or those that have been involved in the predatory lending. So I would like to offer the maker of the motion to apply that
to all of the banks that are mentioned in staff's memo, not just to Wells Fargo, B of A, and
Chase.
I believe the motion on the floor was to not take action against any of the banks on either level 1 or level 2, which was Commissioner Makras' motion. So it already includes against any banks, and it would be take no action at level 1 or level 2 against any of the banks.
So it's not relevant.
Pretty much.
Okay, in a nice way, though.
Good try.
Well, in that
It's covered.
Right. Well, in that case, let me just say that I hope to convince you to vote against the motion that is in favor of these things. And also in terms of, well, if the banks are saying that, oh, we're not discriminating, that we have policies in place, why would you oppose? Why would you oppose something reaffirming that? I don't get that. If you are, you're guilt-free, so what's the problem here? I don't see why there's an opposition to it, if indeed you spoke not disingenuously. So if that's the case, then what's the problem of putting policies in place not to happen? And I like the proactive versus the historic issue.
Thank you.
So I don't see why there'd be any opposition if you're saying we haven't done it, and we have policies in place to ensure that it doesn't happen. I don't understand why there's any issues with it. So anyway, I would appeal to my colleagues to vote against the motion. That is, very succinctly, to vote against Commissioner Makras.
Can we clarify what motion is on the table and what possibly you might be voting
Okay,
on?
let's go back and just simply restate the motion, and then I will again reaffirm why I'm going to vote the way I vote.
The motion made by Commissioner Makras was to take no action at level 1, level 2, or level 3. He didn't mention level 3, but no action at level 1 or level 2 against any of the banks that were identified in the item.
That's this list, not the 1, 2, 3.
It's the entire
The higher list. Okay,
14
thank you.
banks.
And that motion was seconded by Commissioner Meiberger.
Right. He indicated for discussion.
Purposes of discussion.
Parliamentary doesn't matter at this point.
Yes.
He's entitled to clarify.
Yeah.
So now the vote is on the table now the vote is on the table to...
It's on the floor
on the
to...
floor.
It's not
To either vote in favor of that motion. If you vote in favor of that motion, no action will be taken on this board item, or vote against it. That would mean that you want to consider another motion, perhaps.
Okay. You have comments? No? Okay. In terms of our policy of how the ESG works, I did not find sufficient information or proof why we skipped step 1 to step 2 on several of these items. Part 2, part of the policy is if we invoke any of these policies, we are not to impact our returns. This goes to the issue of, I won't say it's, if we were going to divest, we should have done it sooner. I know divestment is not on the calendar, and divestment basically means do not buy, it doesn't force sales. That's a slightly different motion. But that a reason to hold on to any of these stocks, which I believe most of them we own through the index fund, is we would expect all of these banks to, one, follow the law that existed, and to agree to the agreement they've already made with the federal government and the various states. I forget how complicated that agreement is, but different state attorney generals got their own pieces in it, partly because banks are regulated state by state, like insurance companies. So that's one reason why I'm saying it's okay what the banks did. The frustration, anger, life-changing effects and harm to people who have lost their homes or about to lose their homes while all this sorts out. I won't say that's beyond what this board can do by making a vote or even making a statement by a resolution or introducing a proxy. But that's what level this whole ESG is about in terms of protecting the investment funds and trying to address social concerns. But the social concerns are a secondary priority to the investments of the fund. So I'll tell you that's why I am going to vote for this motion. And it's not wishful thinking that smart bank leaders deal with the communities honestly. As complicated as this process is, and I think last month I mentioned the federal government basically stopped the whole auditing process after investing $3 billion in it. They realized what they were trying to do to clear up this mess had failed. It is that complicated. All these words, in a sense, mean nothing to a person who's getting ready to lose their house tomorrow.
That's correct.
It's very unfortunate. But in terms of what actions we're going to take and vote, going through our process, it's not that it's not going to help that person tomorrow, but going forward, what can happen that will help all members of the plan to whom we have fiduciary responsibility. So I think the level 1, level 2 motions do not help with that. That's why I'm going to vote for this motion. And I'll be happy to speak to the groups, to the union reps, to the memberships, and walk through this all again if you like. Excuse me?
Call for the vote.
Okay. I have met with one of the groups already.
Public comments.
If there's no further comments, call the question. All those in favor of the motions that basically is to not proceed with level 1 and 2 against any of these banks listed, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion fails.
Okay. Item 2.
Make the next motion.
Oh, excuse me.
I'm sorry, what was the vote?
2-2.
2-2, tie.
Two,
To make,
two.
make a new motion.
Did the 50% plus one and failed.
Can we have a roll call?
Make a new Well, we could see who voted. Make a new motion.
Okay, I make the motion that we adopt level 1 social policy.
Say again?
I make the motion that we adopt level 1 social policy, which applies to all the banks that are listed in staff's memo.
Do we need to have discussion before you make a motion, or the discussion come
No,
back?
you need normally we'd let's ask for a second before, or you want to make a motion, a second out of courtesy, or whatever the phrase was. Or if there's no motion, the motion dies. Calling second, third. If there's no second, there's no motion on the floor. I'm ready to move to item 2 on the calendar.
Nice try. Good try.
Thank you. We'll have a brief break before we move to item 2.
And actually, item 2 will be a closed session time certain. And so what we'll need is everyone to leave the room. We have